Already shaped up to be another brutal one. Futures down 4.5% overnight. Stocks plunging, as you can see there at the opening bell, even after the Federal Reserve took emergency measures, cutting interest rates to near zero. But that is what we are seeing on the Dow Jones market this morning. I want to go to NBC's Becky Quick, who is watching the markets this morning. I mean, it looked like it was frozen in place there for a second. Becky, what are you seeing?
It does. In fact, as this starts to shake out, I would not be surprised at all to see another halt on trading, Savannah. We've talked about this several times over the last week. If you see down 7% after all these different components of the index open, you are going to see a halt on trading. And based on what we're seeing right here, I would expect that that will happen any second. We've been getting a lot of bad economic news that's come in. China overnight talked about how for the first 2 months of the year there, because of what happened with the coronavirus, they actually saw their industrial output down by 13.5%. That was much weaker than had been expected. Retail sales were down 20%. Activity at restaurants down by 43%. And these numbers were bad. This morning here in the United States, we did get the New York Fed Empire State's manufacturing numbers for the month of March, and those plummeted to the lowest levels that we've seen since 2009. This is just the beginning of the economic numbers that we'll start to see as some harsher restrictions go in. But yes, it does look like we are talking about limit down on these numbers. And as we talked about before, Savannah, if you see down 7%, which this morning a decline for the S&P 500 would be down by just over 189 points, you will see a halt of trading for 15 minutes, and that halt has kicked in. So we are looking at the S&P down 7%.
Yeah, it looks like it looks frozen. But can I ask you, Becky, about the Fed's move? Because all of that was to sort of head off. That was the goal, to head off what we seem to be seeing right in this moment.
Right. What the Fed was really trying to do was to ease some of the trouble that we've seen in some of the markets, particularly in the Treasury market, just not having the right number of buyers matched up to sellers in that regard. So part of what they're doing is buying mortgage-backed securities and buying Treasuries, putting a lot of money into doing that to try and clear those markets so that you don't see bigger problems from that. Now, obviously, markets not completely calm because of some of these issues. You are going to see some pressure, as we're seeing this morning. But that's not to say that the Fed's move didn't help to maybe ease the situation in the Treasury market. We will have to watch trading there very closely to see how that is. It's the technicals behind the system.
Okay, well, that brings us to the White House. NBC's Jeff Bennett is standing by there. The president addressed reporters briefly yesterday. He pointed out that the Dow and the markets had bounced back on Friday, although not, of course, to the level that they had been before this crisis. But now we're seeing what we're seeing as trading plummeted so quickly after the market rang open that they decided to halt trading. So what's the view there?
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Well, I can tell you President Trump and other White House officials are paying close attention to the market open this morning. As you rightly point out, President Trump briefed us reporters yesterday. After the Fed took that step to cut rates to near zero, President Trump said he was happy about it. He called it a big step. He said it brings us closer in line with the rest of the world. He also said that Wall Street would be happy about it. That has not turned out to be the case, at least not so far. So we're tracking that today, what other steps, if any, the White House might take to help prop up the markets, to help stem the economic impact of this outbreak. We're also watching what steps the administration takes to really ramp up testing capability. Last week, the vice president said millions more test kits were being deployed all across the country. Just yesterday, the coronavirus task force said there'd be at least 2 million more what they're calling high-throughput tests. That said, though, there is this discernible bottleneck where the administration says more tests are coming, and yet doctors' offices, urgent cares all around the country, hospitals even, say that there is a distinct shortage. So we're trying to see how the White House will try to solve that clear bottleneck issue, even as the economic issue is really top on people's minds right now, Savannah.
The testing has been a persistent issue on the public health part of this. We, of course, are watching the economic ramifications as well. We will continue to watch this throughout the day. NBCNews.com for live information. Most of you return now to Today. I'm Savannah Guthrie. This has been an NBC News special report from New York.